Morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. A little warm out there this morning.
It is a little warm, isn't it?
Ooh, phew. I went out to take the trash out this morning. It almost knocked me over.
Yeah. little too early for that, huh?
Well, you better believe it. Wow. I'm ready for cooler weather.
I hear you. Bring
Not
on the
enough
fall.
enough of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul. Morning, Phyllis.
Good morning, everybody.
Mm.
Good morning.
Hey, Bill.
Morning, Bill.
How's everyone today?
Warm.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
just a little bit warm.
Just a little warm.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Pat.
Pat. Pat, did the truck come back from over at Gap yet, or Smoketown?
I believe it might still be there. I didn't go by the station this morning. I'll check with Colin and see where it's at and
Yeah.
shoot out an email to everybody.
Yeah, I'm kind of anxious to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll check on that.
Hey, Pat. You see what's behind me? That lamp.
I'm trying to zoom in on it. Is that a nozzle?
Well, the nozzle that's holding up the books, but the lamp itself, the pull
Oh,
box.
okay. Yeah, firebox. Yeah,
Yeah.
firebox.
That was the last firebox in service in the city of Pittsburgh.
Wow, that's cool. That's neat.
Did you steal it?
No, I had a connection in the alarm section.
I didn't know you went to pit. That sounds like
Good
something.
morning, all. This is Phyllis. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can, Phyllis.
My computer microphone failed to connect, so I am dialed in. I just wanted to be sure everyone could hear me.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right.
Might have to speak up a little bit.
All right. I will try to do that.
That's great. Now I can. These old 75-year-old ears don't hear as well as they used to.
You're a child.
You're a child. Hi, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Good morning.
Hello.
That makes me feel good.
Oh, there
Hi,
he is.
Steve.
Hey, there he is. Brother Steve. You outside this morning, Steve?
What's that?
I said, aren't you going outside this morning?
I was already there, and now Darren and I are going to Dickinson to go visit school.
Oh, okay, good.
So, when we start the meeting, I'll start it, and then I'll let Keith run the meeting in case I get disconnected somehow on the road.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine, Steve.
I've never done this on my phone before, so good. Wish me luck.
Well, so far, so good.
Yeah.
Good morning, Steve. This is Pat. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Pat. I'm good. Can you hear me?
I just wanted to take a minute, and I think Mr. Gallen's on the phone before we start, and thank him very much for his donation of 1,000 masks to be put towards the staff for the pool. So John donated 1,000 disposable masks, and I just wanted to thank him for that.
Thanks for you beat me to it, but thank you very much, Pat and John. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Hey, John, that's wonderful. Very nice of you.
Do we have everybody?
I don't see Keith yet.
No. How about that?
I'm on, Tom.
Oh,
No,
okay.
there he is.
Okay.
I can't see who's on this phone. It's already small enough. Okay. It's 8 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. And the first order of business will be public comment. Any public comment out there?
No, thank you.
Anybody else with public comment? Going once. Okay, moving on. Phyllis, go ahead and run with the cash update.
All right, cash balances.
Oh, wait,
At the
Phyllis,
end
I'm
of-
sorry. Phyllis, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Can I at this point pass the handles off to let Keith Durr run the meeting in case I get disconnected? So
Yeah,
Keith, you got it. Keith, you got it. All right. Sorry, Phyllis, go ahead.
Okay, Phyllis, sorry. Go ahead.
We good?
Yep,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Cash balances at the end of June totaled 9.7 million. That would be up 289,000 from the end of May, up 2.2 million from year end, yet down 2.9 million from the same time last year. That decrease is twofold. One, we've already discussed the spending in 2019 would have occurred in the second half of the year. Follow that by decreased revenue in the beginning of 2020. That would account for approximately 2 million of the decrease. In addition, in June of 2019, E1 returned the 2018 prepayment for the fire apparatus. Excuse me. So 1.1 million was held from June of 19 through September of 19, when the disbursement was subsequently made to GLIC. So those items together would account for about $3 million in a decrease in cash. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions? Okay. Interest rates remain low at just 0.25%. So the cash remains invested at the local VIST with just 1,000 remaining in ICS to maintain the account. Any questions on our cash position?
Nope.
Okay. June added 289,000 to the surplus, bringing the year-to-date surplus to 2.3 million and overall fund balance to 10.6 million. The details of the June results you'll find in your council packages. Please let me know if you have any questions. If we go on, we can compare June of this year to June of last year. When we look at revenues, we're looking at 2.1 million in 20 versus, I'm sorry, that's the monthly total, year-to-date totals. 10.9 million versus 11.8 million, or a decrease of 950,000. If you look below, I have a list of all the key revenue variances. Net real estate taxes are actually up 275,000. And we'll look at the components of all that in just a minute. All other taxes, and this is where the most damage is, are down almost 700,000. We'll see variances in intergovernment revenue as well as the Benecon, because those are just one-time receipts. So we will see those variances recur throughout the year. The intergovernment are a result of a one-time water grant that was received early in 2019 and a refuse equipment reimbursement grant that was likewise received early in 2019. The revenue for recreation programs, the absence of that revenue is approximately $140,000. I believe the rec board met yesterday and decided to roll out a prorated fee structure for the opening of the pool. That would total approximately $41,000, which would apply only if all the same members purchased prorated memberships for the current season. My best estimate would be that maybe half of that amount may be received. So of the 140 absence of recreation revenue, we might be able to see a recovery of maybe about 20,000 of that. Interest will continue to be a variance. Not only has the interest rate decreased from 1.5 to just 1/4%, that interest is being earned on lower balances. And the interest revenue in 2019 also included a $30,000 receipt from E1 for the prepayment that had been held. They did pay as interest. Utility revenues continue to be down, and that is spread equally over each of the three services, water, sewer, and refuse. So, what's unusual with the 19 results is that the refund from E1 was recorded as a negative expense because it would be eventually offset in September when the disbursement to GLIC was made. So if we compare just the raw data of 19 to 20, expenses would appear to be up $323,000. However, if we restate those results and exclude that refund from E1, we'd be looking at comparative expenses of 9.2 versus 8.5. So expenses just based on operations without the fire apparatus refund would actually be down $394,000, which would offset the reduction in the revenues. And so this time versus last year at the same time, we're actually only down $256,000. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's against a projected variance at the end of a deficit at the end of the year.
No, this is just a pure comparison of 6 months of 19 versus 6 months of 20.
Okay, all right.
Phyllis, it's Steve. I do have one question. I believe, and I'm dangerous because I don't know enough, but the CARES Act had something to do with either the state or the federal government giving money to the counties, and I believe the counties then distribute some money to the boroughs or the townships. Is that correct, first of all?
That is a correct statement. There is some information due to the county by Monday that I'm working on, just to share with the county the borough's experience with COVID expenses. Those numbers are a little vague right now, and my attention has been elsewhere, but you are correct. There is potential money out there. How much it will be is yet to be determined.
I just saw in the news this morning that Pennsylvania has $50 million that they're going to distribute for fire and police, just for fire and police. I'm not sure what the necessary steps are to try to look into that or not. I don't know if that's the consultants or the lobbyists would look at, or.
I think I got an email from Tom Boucher who indicated that Chief Hackman is looking into that for both spring and Wyomissing at this time.
Okay, yeah, it just came out this morning. I saw it.
Yes, sir. I think I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
I say the first step, Keith, is for me to gather this information and share it with the county via their questionnaire.
It didn't, at least when on the news this morning, it didn't sound like it was related to PPE or expenses related to COVID, but that it was money that was going to be available to offset the loss of revenue that was coming in. Like they made it sound like some of the local, like volunteer fire companies that were relying on fundraisers that couldn't be held, but it also seemed to apply overall to all fire and police, that it wasn't basically just for reimbursement, but it was more to offset loss of revenue, which we could probably make a case for based on our tax reductions. Sorry, go ahead, Phyllis.
Okay. Any other questions comparing June of 19 to 20? Okay.
I have one comment. Keith, that last comment you made about the tax reductions, that's just a timing issue, isn't it? We're just talking about the timing of collection of the taxes.
Well, I meant like the mercantile taxes and
Okay. All right.
the business taxes that we're probably not going to recover.
Right. Those will be.
I didn't mean the word reduction. I meant less revenue.
Okay.
And we will look at the detail of each of the taxes in just a few minutes. Okay. Capital expenditures. There were no expenditures in the month of June of a capital nature. So of the 1.9 million that had been budgeted, just 75,000 has been expended. There is one expenditure pending council's approval next week. Dolan has application number 7, which is a partial release of the retainage on phase 1, and that will be 15,000. That will bring the total to approximately 90,000 of the 1.9. Okay. The next schedule reviews the revised spending plan, and just a quick update on the status of some of those projects. Previously reported that the funding for Greenlight Go had been suspended. I've received the final invoice from Traffic Planning and Design, and I'm currently working on a reimbursement request. So we spent just $9,800. The reimbursement would be 80% of that, or $7,800. And I should have that finished shortly. It's a matter of when the state will actually process those requests for reimbursements. Line painting has been completed, just slightly over budget. We had budgeted 73,000. The final total is 75,000. Repairs to the Happy Hollow steps, I believe, are well underway, and that was just in-house labor and some equipment rental, so minimal costs there. Likewise with the park trails, minimum costs there, in-house labor. Work continues on the master plan for the Stonehouse area. The original contract was for 30,000, and we're about 20% into that, so we've spent about 6,000 of that.
Yeah.
Lastly, Jim has expressed concerns about the delay in the sewer maintenance. That was part of the original revised spending plan to eliminate that altogether, and I believe he plans to share with infrastructure next week his concerns about the larger potential costs if we fail to maintain those that program. And that's it on the revised.
Phyllis, is he talking about that whole 320,000, or is he going to break that out into what absolutely has to be done?
I believe that's the plan, but he's concerned about not doing anything and the potential cost if there were backups.
Keith, Jim was going to break it out. Jim was going to break it out in a couple different areas. I don't think he was looking to use the whole 320, but there's a couple possible problem areas that he wanted to try to get to. But I think he's going to have it broken out, and I'll make sure that he does.
Okay.
Okay. All right. If we look at the revenue variances next, gross real estate taxes, if you recall, is a function of the assessed value times the tax rate. Taxes were increased from 3.9 to 4.25. So we anticipated increased revenue of $361,000. And through the end of June, revenue from the gross tax receipt is actually up $197,000. When we compare the percent of year-to-date receipts to the total receipts anticipated, at this time last year, we were at 95% collection. This year, we're at 92% collection. So we are experiencing better collection rates than surrounding counties, which has been historically true. And so we're only running about 3% behind. Good news on the real estate tax front. According to the tax collector's report, just 363,000 remains, or just about 8% remains to be collected through the remainder of the year. So there's not a lot of additional revenue out there pertaining to the gross real estate tax. If we next look at net real estate taxes, let's look at the assessed values first. We learned in the month of June that 4 more parcels, all located at 1100 Belmont, were decreased by approximately $160,000. That is the location of SFS. And that tracking notice came from the county with a cautionary email stating that high volumes of additional tracking notices were coming. That with the return of the assessors to work, much of the work that they were unable to complete before the furlough will be forthcoming. So although the June news wasn't alarming, they're telling us that there's many more to come. So right now, our assessed value is sitting pretty much even to where we started our budget at, $1,021 million versus $1,022 million, but with more decreases to come. Okay. So if we start with the gross tax and we factor in all the discounts, all the penalties, and all the changes, and the changes are tending to be positive as a result of economic development, as additional properties are reassessed, and then offset by the reductions. Our net real estate taxes are up $275,000 through the end of June. Any questions pertaining to real estate taxes? Okay. If we move on to mercantile tax, John, I think this will address your question. That's where we see the largest decrease in our revenue flows. There should have been a large receipt in May that was partially made up with a disbursement that was received in June. So through the end of June, we are down $482,000. Some of that will be made up when collections from the extended due date occur. However, a lot of businesses have already paid as they were unaware of the extension. Through the second half of 2019, just $100,000 was collected. So I don't see a lot more revenue coming in. This is not an amount that will be collected when the due date passes, but this will be the result of business revenues being down. So this is where the most significant fluctuation will persist. Okay. We move on to real estate tax, real estate transfer tax. We'll see through the end of June, we were down $16,000. However, I've already received the July receipt of the June collections, and that was an additional $57,000. So year to date through the end of July, we're actually pretty much even to where we were last year. That large receipt in the beginning of July was a result of the sale of one property located at 1170 Berkshire Boulevard. Was a Tower Health property that was transferred to the Berks Visiting Nurses for $6.2 million and resulted in a $31,000 tax. What's not included on the June report is anything pertaining to the Berkshire Mall. I believe, Steve, you asked the question about what that transfer would do in terms of revenue for the borough.
Yep.
And what Michelle learned pertaining to the Berkshire Mall was that the debt was purchased, not the actual property. And that in order for the deed to actually transfer, the new investors would have to actually foreclose on the debt and then perfect the lien.
So what you're saying is we're SOL on that one. Got it.
Potentially. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so that trade did not generate any revenue because it was a purchase of the debt and not the property. But I will continue to watch for that. Okay. Next tax would be the earned income tax. This is the 1% tax deducted from all earned income. At the end of June, we were down 200,000. Again, the July receipt has already been recorded at 136,000. So through the end of July, we'll be down 169,000. Part of that receipt was due to the delay in the due date, the extended due date. So more of that will be recovered. How much of that is yet to be seen. Not as much damage as the mercantile tax, but that is anticipated to be down through the end of the year. Okay. Lastly, the local services tax is actually up from last year. The local services tax is the $1 per week payroll tax. That tax is split. It's a maximum of $52. So if there's any wages earned, that amount is deducted. Of the 52, the borough gets 47, the school district gets 5. So we are not losing any ground there. So that reviews all the major revenue counts. Are there any questions pertaining to the June results? No? Okay. Keith did ask me when I distributed the results to him yesterday prior to the meeting what the June results would do for the year-end projections. I don't have numbers available today, but I will continue to revise those estimates as information becomes available. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah, Phyllis, I mean, the good news is it sounds like the tax revenues may not be off quite as bad as what we had originally thought a month or so ago.
Yeah, I don't anticipate a lot more in mercantile tax. I mean, there'll be some receipts, but that's income that we won't fully recover.
Right.
But,
you had, in your projections, you had projected that pretty low as well, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So any uptick might help the projection. Do you think you're going to have projections before next council meeting?
Next council meeting would be Tuesday. I'll do my best, but I need to get the information together for the county commissioners related to COVID.
Even if it's just some rough projections based on what you did the last time, maybe just a rough estimate, I just think that's going to come up, especially if infrastructure is going to come back with some sewer projects. I just think it's going to be at least some rough numbers to make a good decision based on whether we can go forward with some of these projects or not.
Yep, I'll do my best.
Pat, was Rob going to do an estimate of what the pool cost in projections were, or was Pat going to do that? I mean, Rob?
I can, we're currently still gathering that information. We had did a rough estimate on just like supplies and so forth needed for upstaff and so forth would be around 8,500. That does not include the staff costs, but we can pull together a report of exactly what everything is going to cost.
I just think with the summer being halfway over, if we're going to do any of these infrastructure projects, we probably should make a decision on or at least get some preliminary approvals for Tuesday night. And I think we need to have some kind of cost projections for where we think we're going to end up against the budget deficit to make those decisions.
Okay, sir.
Okay, what's next?
That's all I had.
Hey, Keith, it's Steve. I do have one question. So if we're gonna, if
You cut
that won't
out.
happen until after our council meeting, so the infrastructure wouldn't be acted upon until the August council meeting. Is that a fair statement by all?
So Jim Babb was bringing it to infrastructure, not council.
Correct.
Correct.
Is there still going to be time to actually do the work that he wants to do before the weather sets in if we wait that long?
The sewer work should be able to be completed, Keith. That's really not too weather dependent.
I think is that the only potential emergency projects that might need approval as opposed to, because it doesn't look like even if the projections are off by 100,000, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do a lot of capital expenditures between now and the end of the year, just from a financial standpoint, without eating into bigger deficits. So we probably aren't going to do a lot of other projects. But I guess the question is, what emergency projects and what would be the timing on them before we can't do them for the year?
Okay, I'll make sure that Jim has that for the next infrastructure.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Keith, one thing. Pat, I brought up to Rob yesterday that I understand we have an outside plumbing contractor that has been doing the work at the pool for years in regards to hooking the sinks and the commodes up and then disconnecting them and so forth. And I also understand that we have a qualified member of the borough crew that takes care of the Berkshire Heights playground and the other recreational facilities. Why are we using an outside plumbing contractor for the pool?
Bill, I'm not sure. I have to check into that. I know I asked a similar question, and apparently it was due to that our people aren't as familiar with hooking up that plumbing as what the plumber was, and that's why we constantly use that. I don't really have a lot of basis information other than that. I know that it involves a lot of different valves and actual hookup of fixtures, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'll try to get an answer for you.
Okay, I just thought it was as simple as, I was led to believe that it was just short of like you're replacing a sink at home and just hooking up the pipe. So, okay.
I think it might be a little bit more involved, but I'll double check, sir.
Thank you.
Pat, I think it might also have to do with staff availability. Craig can only be, one place at a time.
Okay.
Anyone else have any other business to bring forward? If not, do we need a motion to adjourn, or do we just adjourn?
Normally you take a motion to adjourn, Keith.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Phyllis.
Good day, everyone.
Certainly.
Okay.